Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Today's episode, powered by Hayabusa, is 5 things that professionals do that amateurs do not. In today's episode, we're gonna talk about what professionals do that amateurs do not. So basically, we're talking about what professionals do that make them professionals and what amateurs do that make them amateurs. So if you're an amateur watching this video, pay attention to these 5 things because that's what's gonna help you develop, improve your technique, your confidence, your skills, to be called a professional. Okay, so let's get right into it. And the first one has to be the ability to set things up. You have to set things up. I am known for my power low kicks. We'll use me as an example, but everybody knows that I'm good with my low kicks, so I have to set them up properly. So through the years of training, I've developed many different setups. Lateral tracking, forward, backwards, push-offs, so many different ways to attack your legs. So I can spar you, fight you, and say, I'm gonna hit your legs confidently, knowing you won't block them, right? Because I have this setup, so that comes with experience. The one big punch that everyone knows is the big bombing rear hand. You know, we had the Dan Hendersons and those guys who are known for those big one-punch powers. But you have to set them up. Where's the jab setting it up? Where's the feinting, right? So to be able to set up your strikes just shows that you're more an experienced fighter. Just bombing shots, not setting them up, or only having one strike to do damage. That is one of the most frustrating things. When I watch the UFC and I hear this guy's the big knockout artist, and I only see him throw one punch, and if he doesn't land that punch, he doesn't get a knockout, that just shows inexperience to me. So if you want to look like a professional, set up your strikes, especially if you're known for one big power one, have multiple setups, right? One setup isn't going to be enough to be a big professional. Now, the second thing, right, talking about setting things up, okay? Amateurs, you got to do this a lot more, and that is feint, okay? Now, even when we talk about professional level fighting, who feints the most? Boxers feint the most, right? Because they only have 2 weapons, 2 hands, it's a little bit more strategic. They call it the sweet science for the reason that they have to set things up so strategically. So using feints, level changes, changing the intensity of the punches, all makes you just look that much more professional. So feinting more. Now, with kickboxing, right? Feinting, you'll see a lot, but with high guard defense, you can sit in the pocket a little bit more. So those who now are really into mixed martial arts, wanting to get to the UFC, with the small gloves, it's very important that you understand to feint because feinting gives you 2 things. It gives you 2 reactions from your opponent, right? When I feint, my opponent could shell up, which is a defensive reaction, which lets me crash distance, lets me pick my shots a little bit more, right? Or what you see when I feint is a counter tendency. So you see someone load up a shot, you're like, okay, I see what you're trying to do. So this way you avoid it, circle the other way, maybe counter the counter, right? Playing higher level games. Play chess, be 1-2 steps ahead, okay? So the ability to feint, very important if you want to look and be a professional. Now, the third thing, very important to me, and it frustrates me a lot, it's the ability to counter. Okay, so what happens in amateur fighting is what I call back and forth exchanging, the combo back and forth. One person attacks, the other attacks. The other person attacks, the other one goes back and forth. So they're playing back and forth games. Well, that's not really fighting. The idea of fighting and winning in fighting is to gain momentum. So if I can get 2 combinations off and they only get 1, I'm leading in points, I'm leading in volume, right? I'm looking more favorable on the judge's scorecard, okay? So the ability to counter. So that means, 1, with kickboxing, how many times does someone kick, block the kick, and then there's no follow-up? A lot. We see it so much in the UFC, right? Even in the highest level of kickboxing, the ability to counter isn't enough. Now, to show high-level striking, countering kicks, okay? So, I mean, block punches we all learn, slipping and ripping, parrying, head guard countering. Those are more basic. But if you want to look like a professional in modern mixed martial arts, blocking and countering. Block the kick, come back with your kicks, right? So the ability to counter just makes you that much more of a professional. Now, when you do counter, remember you got punch counters, leg counters. You can counter in combination. You can counter with level changes, countering on angles, right? So the ability to counter goes well beyond just saying countering, right? There's levels to the countering game. But just remember, being able to counter just makes you that much more professional. And to be a good counter, you have to understand range and distance control, which all shows. If you don't know distance control, that's the number one thing. I didn't even mention it on the list because obviously distance control is number one. I don't want to insult your intelligence for those who are listening. So that's why I think counters builds in distance control. If every time someone punches me, I move away too far because I was scared or was trying to move, I can't counter, right? Because my distance control is off. So that's how everything is all integrated. Now, the fourth thing, being adaptable, okay? So going into a fight, right? And a lot of times, an amateur will go into a fight with no game plan, no setup. They just go in and they just start throwing things. But the ability to adapt, right? So what does that actually mean? So you might go in with a game plan of being a pressure fighter. And I want to pressure. I feel the key to this victory is to pressure fight. However, at the end of the first round, I realized, man, I can't pressure fight right now. They're bigger than I thought, stronger. They're not moving or reacting the way that I thought they would react. So maybe I need to use more movement fighting, fight on angles, stay a little longer. I have to have the ability to adapt. If my coaches tell me to do something, I have to be able to react and do. That's what being adaptable means, right? In mixed martial arts, you might go in there and thinking, I could piece this guy up on my feet. My striking's better, my distance is better, he won't be able to hit me. All of a sudden, boom, you get hit, you're rocked, you gotta shoot right away, you gotta change, you gotta be able to adapt, okay? You gotta put yourself in the distance or the position to make it favorable for you, okay? So being adaptable is very, very important. Now, the fifth and final point I'm gonna talk about is eyes. Okay? What does eyes mean? Eyes mean so many different things when it comes to martial arts. The first thing, going back to counters, having the eye to understand range and distance, right? So if I could move and counter, that's good eyes. If I'm scared and I'm moving too far, my eyes aren't very sharp, right? Because now I'm out of distance, I can't counter. Now the other thing with eyes, right, comes timing. Right? With good timing, I could move, I can time my opponent coming in. So the sharpness in your eyes, reaction time is very important. Okay, so knowing range and knowing the reaction time. Now, the other thing about the eyes, now, again, I'm bringing it in because I like to talk about mixed martial arts, kickboxing. I like to talk about combat sports because a lot of these principles, right, they apply to all of them, right? It's a fight concept. It's not specific. Distance control is the same for boxing as it is for Taekwondo, as it is for MMA. So understanding the fight concept. So the eyes meaning I don't have to rely on my guard all the time. I could move my head, I could move my feet, someone attacks, I could slip. How many times have you seen some of the greatest Muay Thai fighters in the world? Slipping body kicks, you know, the body comes, they're whipping them and coming back. Good boxers moving their eyes, they can fight with a Philly shell with the lead hand down. So sharp eyes, right, helps you counters, helps you manage distance, helps you see things, the pull counters, you know, the Floyd Mayweather eyes, right? You don't get better eyes and sharpness and timing and precision than that. Okay, so making sure your eyes are sharp, different reactions, and just not being scared, right? An amateur still, when someone throws a punch, right? When you first started sparring, you get like this scared reaction where you kind of close your eyes, you cover your head, and you shell up. A professional is never going to shell up who's a high-level striker. Last thing you want to do is be here. If anything, if I get stuck here, I'm going to move my feet, be adaptable, understand range, or I'm going to clinch, grab them up, tie them up, right? I'm not just going to sit there with my eyes closed. So not being scared is the big thing about having sharp eyes, all right? So I hope you enjoyed today's episode on looking like a professional, acting like one in the ring, training like one. These 5 things are going to help you really understand what it looks like to be a professional, okay? So make sure you keep liking, subscribing, hit the notification bell to stay up to date, and make sure you continue to support the channel sponsors. This video is brought to you by Hayabusa Fight, linked in the description below for all of their gear. We have Perfect Sports Nutrition for all of your supplements, Bazooka 20 to get 20% off your stuff. We have bazookashop.com for Bazooka merchandise. And last but not least, bazookatraining.com, where I teach online. Right now, you only get a quick little video, but on the bazookatraining.com, you get full workouts from me. Home workouts, bag workouts, tutorials, and sparring drills. Every Monday, they are released for you to keep learning for only $9.99 US per month, okay? Keep learning from me, keep sharing with your friends. We'll see you next time here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA.
Over 1 year in lockdown, an empty gym, a divided community. many questions unanswered.
They're doing the best they can, trying to save their business.
But on one man's 36th birthday, he decided to fight back. Subscribe now for only $9.99 USD a month. BazookaTraining.com